All right, Fish. Well, we've got another first on Daily Fish. Our guest tonight has won a Major League Gold Glove and a Television Emmy Award. Who is it? It's Doug Flynn, a former member of the Big Red Machine, a 1980 Gold Glove winner in baseball. He has just won an Emmy Award, as we mentioned last week. Plus, he is also headlined with the Oak Ridge Boys. Doug, known as the Glue, will join us with better Wi-Fi connection than the last time we had him on, by the way. Plus, our Schmuck of the Week is a Bears favorite, and Who's Got the Swag is a teacher who takes it all off. And is there something fishy about today's fans in the stands? And why are the Little Leaguers getting better TV ratings than the pros? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Daily Fish. John Daly here with Eric Snyder, a.k.a. Fish. We are coast to coast, coming to you from Las Vegas and Myrtle Beach. We talk sports, entertainment, and everything in between. Fish, kind of a groundbreaking show tonight.
Can't wait. Doug Flynn really pinch hit for us tonight. So can't wait to talk to him a little bit.
Looking forward to it, too. He's a talented and fun guy. All right, time for the daily grind. Here's what we're grinding on first today. The Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC announced their alliance of all three conferences together. It includes future scheduling for football and women's and men's basketball for interconference games to, now quote, optimize college athletics for the student athletes and the fans. Now, this is in response to Texas and Oklahoma jumping to the SEC, which we told you about a couple of weeks ago. A couple of things on this. First, this won't happen for at least a couple of years. Let's wait and see if it really does happen. Second, I should say, this is a response, according to some experts, to the SEC and ESPN trying to monopolize college sports. Fish, what are the implications you're seeing?
Well, Tony Kornheiser of ESPN got suspended for saying the same thing you just implicated. So the bottom line is, the pie is that big. There's enough slices for NBC, which covers Notre Dame. CBS covers the ACC. ABC has the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. That won't change. The positives here, I'll give you a negative also. The positive here is that, let's say there's the alliance between the ACC, and it's going to happen. So now, instead of having USC play San Jose State, they're going to start the season with, USC could play Clemson. Okay, USC is going to, the Oregon's going to play Clemson. You're going to have such great matchups going on. The negative is when you get a small school like Appalachian State that makes a lot of money when they played Michigan a few years ago and upset them, the small schools are going to suffer because they're going to have nobody to play because there's going to be so many super conference matchups. I do believe this also. In 2025, when this happens, you're going to see the playoffs expand to 12.
Yep, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Hopefully we'll be here to make sure your assessment was right on. All right, next, our NFL preview. Tonight, the NFC and AFC East. First, Fish, will the NFC East be as boring as last year, or is there a surprise team in the mix?
Well, I don't think there's a surprise team in the mix because it was just a putrid division last year, and the chance that your 6-10 Giants had a chance to make the playoffs in the last game of the season it's not a good look for the league. I like the Washington football team because they had a top 4 defense last year. Chase Young's a monster. If Ryan Fitzpatrick, their new quarterback from Alex Smith last year, can manage a team, John, they have a chance to repeat. My dark horse in that division is the New York Giants. I really believe – I love their draft. Kadarius Toney, their first-round draft pick. They picked up Kenny Galladay. These are 2 receivers that they have. They're going to be great skill position players to help a young quarterback like Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley's coming back. They added Adoree Jackson, a great safety in free agency with Logan Ryan, Blake Martinez, good defense. I'm a Joe Judge guy. I'm picking the Giants to make the playoffs, and I think Dallas wins the division, but I think the Giants have a really good chance at a wild card.
Okay, I'm picking actually a healthy Dak and the Cowboys to be at the top like you are as well. All right, now to the AFC East, which is really intriguing. Are the Patriots poised for a playoff run?
Yes. 11 free agents of the top 20 free agents signed with the New England Patriots. Guys like Matthew Judon, Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar. And they asked why. It's because they wanted to play with Bill Belichick. That just shows the respect you have for probably one of the greatest coaches if not the greatest coach of all time. Bottom line is quarterback. If Cam Newton can stay healthy and he can make that 30-yard throw, then their defense was ranked in the top 10. Yes, they're gonna make the playoffs this season.
All right. Well, to me, I don't think you can figure out who's going to actually be the quarterback. Probably Cam Newton, but if Josh Daniels, the offensive coordinator, he might have to create two different offenses for two different quarterbacks that are opposite ends of the run-pass scale. What do you think about that?
Well, but yeah, when you get Mac Jones, he's the 15th pick in the draft. Whenever you're a first-round draft pick, you're supposed to play right away. So that's a precursor that the leash is very short on Cam. Me saying that the Patriots make the playoffs, I still think the best team in that division by far is the Buffalo Bills. I love that team. I love what they did in the draft. Talk about what a great move last year, John, getting Stephon Diggs from the Vikings, a great wide receiver. Josh Allen really stepped it up. He was an MVP candidate last year, and I think he matures more in his fourth year. And the Bills are a Super Bowl contender, trust me.
Yep, it's going to be a good division, that's for sure. All right, next, sports attendance. Is it just for elites now? The average ticket price, along with parking and concessions, is actually impossible for the average family of four. Corporations buy up seats to sell on Ticketmaster and StubHub. Fish, are the days of middle-class fans in the stands gone?
Well, look at my background. I say it all the time. I'm a diehard Raider fan. I've had season tickets every year until this year because it's astronomical. I get it. It's a new market, and there's a market for it. But if you go on StubHub and look what the prices are for that opening game against the Ravens, I think the lowest ticket you're going to find is in the $500 range. It's crazy. How can you bring it? That's $2,000 for a family of four with the parking and concessions. So yes, you're outpricing the middle class, and the bottom line is they all care about TV ratings, but I think you're going to see less people in the stands as the years go by, and I don't know if the NFL really cares.
All right, and finally on the grind, the Little League World Series. Have you watched it? It is pure fun. The Little Leakers, as my dad called us, have higher TV ratings than some of the MLB games. Fish, what is the allure, or in Fish parlance, the lure?
The lure is you're watching kids that are 12 years old, and all they care about is when they're on TV, when they're on ESPN, they're waving at the camera. But these guys get on their bikes afterwards, and they're worried about, hey, I'm going to go on and play, World of Warcraft with another team, which is a video game, and they love the game, and it's pure to them. And maybe we love it so much because some of the big athletes now that the guaranteed $250 million contracts, how much do they care? They care. They all look. Don't get me wrong. We'll get Doug on in a minute. They all want to win, but these kids that are 12 years old are playing the game when we played it at 12 years old. And winning's important, but being a kid's more important.
I would agree. Absolutely. All right. And that's the Daily Grind. Questions or comments during the show, use the chat box here, or you can email us at dailyfish1, the number one, dailyfish1@gmail.com, or post to Facebook at daily.fish.5. Better yet, record yourself short and tight on your smartphone and send it to dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right. Time for some binge watching, Fish. I am looking back at The West Wing, the old NBC series about the White House of President Jed Bartlett. It makes you kind of realize how much simpler things were compared to now. What are your thoughts on that, and what are you binging?
Well, I remember when I watched that show, brilliant show, Aaron Sorkin, just brilliant writing. I remember there was a scene in in the third season where he says to his wife, "I don't get 1 minute alone." When these cell phones started, it's always going off. What's going on with the presidency now? I mean, why would you want the job? It's the most stressful job on the planet. And they kind of threw it, they kind of did the cycle of what it was in the West Wing. It's constant. Your phone's going off at 3 o'clock in the morning. And, hey, if you could do it, more power to you. I mean, you need more of these. You need more Bloody Point, Bloody Marys to get through the presidency, I'll tell you that. I'm a sci-fi freak. I found one on Netflix called Another Life. And there's a beacon. The beacons fall all throughout the earth. And we know it came from another world, but there's no dialogue between the beacon and us. So we decided, to take place in the future, to go to their home planet and find out whether they're friendly or not. Phenomenal first season. Justin Chatwin is a guy that's in it. You might remember if you watched Shameless, he played Jimmy in the first 4 seasons. The other actors and actresses are new people, and I watch a lot of TV and movies. Terrific. And there's another season coming. All
right. That's our binge watching. Now to something fishy. All right, Fish, what do we have that's fishy?
What do I say to you all the time? You give me this segment for the rage that come out of this chest and this system. And I curse a lot, and I keep it to a minimum on this show because we could have, I'm not going to really curse on this one. But this is for all the people that are watching our show right now that are bartenders, servers, working concession stands throughout the nation. If you're a bartender or server and someone calls for a to-go order, right? You doing the call, please remember this. You might be the only person working that night. Don't call them and ask them about 10,000 things about the menu, okay? Because you know what? Every single restaurant menu is online. So if you call a server or a bartender and they put you on hold for 30 seconds, don't come back and give them attitude, okay? We know that everyone has a short attention span and now everyone's angered and they have a short fuse. They're just doing their job. I've seen it at concession stands and stadiums. A guy gets up, you got 7 things on the goddamn menu. A hot dog, a Polish dog, popcorn, whatever. And the guy's looking at his wife, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What's the ingredients in the Polish dog? What's the sodium content? You know, I don't want to miss half the game because you're freaking out over what's in a hot dog. A hot dog is shit, okay? That's what it is. Eat it, get back to your seat. So please, have etiquette towards your servers, your bartenders. Have etiquette towards the people that work at the concession stand. And now, Allegiant Stadium is cashless. If you go there, don't bring any cash on you and scream at the person who's going to use a credit card. I know some people that are Raider fans don't have a great credit line, so too bad. You're not eating a crappy hot dog. Just suck on your beer. Out.
There you go. And by the way, we just lost sponsorship from Fenway Franks, but that's all right. All right, still ahead, our Schmuck of the Week, along with Who's Got the Swag, plus The Glue is a baseball and TV winner. Doug Flynn is coming up. All right, time now for the Daily Fish Hook. It is the preseason prop bet we're talking about. And Fish, we know of some big ones that have failed drastically this year. Talk about that.
Let me show you a picture of a guy that would be me sitting at a bar if I had red hair. That's me, okay? That's Fish. Because Fish and his buddy, Patrick Berger, all night, a big fan of the show, big ball. I told him to bet that the Orioles will win over 58 games. Have you seen what the Orioles have done this year? Have you? Okay.
Well, they were actually good in April, but lately I think they've dropped 19 in a row.
Sure. Okay. The team that wins the Little League World Series will beat the Orioles in a 3-game series. I'm sorry. And all you Oriole fans out there, I apologize. But there's people that put money on prop bets. I'm one of them. Super Bowl is big for prop bets. You know, I'll bet what kind of underwear they're going to wear, and the coin flip. And, you know, I have a guy that I know made a ton of money because he bet that the Kansas City Chiefs wouldn't score a touchdown in the last Super Bowl against Tampa. And they didn't. They scored a touchdown in 43 straight games. But for a baseball team to not win more than 58 games, that means you're losing 100 games. Okay? And we have 2 teams this year. Just people I know that bet the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks got Madison Bumgarner, a great pitcher from the Giants. You figure that's a shoo-in. That's the beauty of baseball, is that it sucks the life out of you. I need you to win 23 of the last 46 games, and you're playing like the Bad News Bears when Walter Matthau was drinking all the beers in the dugout. Okay, this is like a something fishy. I can't talk about it anymore. But I'm hooked. I'm hooked on being you know what, John? I'm the second schmuck of the week.
All right. And you know, when you think about it, I mean, baseball in April, May, and June is totally different from what's going to be happening in August and September. So it's to be expected. That's why it's a long season and you just wait it out. All right. Thanks for tuning in again. We are Daily Fish. We are live on Facebook Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We air on DBNA television on Roku, Amazon Fire, and soon Apple TV. We stream 24/7 on the DBNA television website at dbnatelevision.com. Follow us and like us on Facebook at daily.fish.5 and subscribe on YouTube. Okay, time now for our Schmuck of the Week. Who's been schmucky this week, Fish?
Well, I guess, every time we do a Schmuck of the Week, we laugh at it. This is a guy I actually like. I'm a big fan of this guy, but he's a schmuck, right? This is Jim McMahon, all right? Jim McMahon, he's obviously a former great quarterback and a crazy guy, just a real loose cannon for the Chicago Bears. During an appearance this week on the Fat Mike Chicago show, he pointed out that Chicago hasn't had a decent starting quarterback, including him, since the turn of the century. He goes, quote, "I think it's where quarterbacks go to die." You know what? He's worked for Chicago Bears. He's done some promos. We're in the public relations department. Don't slam a team that you were with that still pays you. I know, unfortunately, that Jim, and you know him, you played golf with him. He's had some bouts of dementia. But my favorite Jim McMahon story is when they played in the Super Bowl down in New Orleans against the Patriots when they knocked the crap out of your Patriots 46-10 in the '85 Super Bowl. He got in trouble, and Roselle wanted to suspend him because he said that some girl said, "Let me see your ass," and he mooned them. He goes, and he said, "I'm just giving the fans what they want." What's wrong with that? So I mean, Jim, don't be a schmuck. Don't sit there and slam and trash out the team that you play for. But you know what? You did win a Super Bowl, and you were a good quarterback.
Yep, and that's Jimmy. So anyway, okay, let's see who's got the swag now. Who are we toasting this week, Fish?
This is Courtney Tillia. If Doug's watching this, look at this young lady. This is one of the top special ed teachers, John and Doug, in the United States. She deals with kids with Asperger's, and she teaches kids that have Asperger's. Seriously, Asperger's, autism. If you're a special ed teacher, right, you're helping kids. You're helping kids that have special needs that can't sit in a regular classroom. So they don't make. Look, my wife's a school teacher. They don't start out making a lot of money. So she decided to supplement her income, and she did stripping and she did some softcore porn. Let me just show you this picture of what she did to supplement her income. And let's just say that we condone this at Daly Fish. And if this woman was my school teacher, trust me, I'm a sick bastard. This is my school teacher voice, then I'd be a subject of a Hallmark or Lifetime TV movie about a 15-year-old that got in trouble. Okay, she made a ton of money doing this. And she goes, I had to quit teaching because I was broke. My husband encouraged me to join OnlyFans, and now I make 12 times as much. So she still wants to teach. You know what? I might keep this picture up the entire show and get rid of Doug Flynn. Nah, maybe not. I love you, Doug, and you're going to be great. That's my open. Yeah. You
should also point out that she's just doing pictures. She's not doing any sexual things.
No. Everything, and she supplemented income by 12 times. And guess what? I never had a teacher that looked like that. Did you, John?
I think I did have a couple, yes. But they didn't dress like that, though.
I'm speechless right now. I'm sweating. I need a schwitz.
I think we need to. Okay, we need our drink of the week because we're going to toast who's got the swag. It's our drink of the week. So what are we sipping on? You've already mentioned it, but anyway, say it again. Yeah,
you know what? We love this. This is the Bloody Mary with the Bloody Point Bloody Mary mix. We did a promo for them. And this is a tremendous a Bloody Mary. Basically, it's like you said, like Justin said the other day when we had him on the show. All you need to put is a straw, vodka and Bloody Mary mix. The Bloody Mary mix is great. The #1 breakfast drink in America, and great tailgating for football season.
So cheers. Here's at you, buddy.
To you too.
And just so you know, we did a Daily Fish hook on Sunday with Justin. He's the creator of Bloody Point. And if you go to our Facebook and our YouTube pages, you can see the interview that we did with him from the Indiana State Fair. He's a ton of fun and brilliant at mixology and food creation. Again, it's bloodypointmixing.com. So go take a look at that. Daily Fish Drink of the Week is sponsored by Shucks Tavern in Vegas. Great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to the Shucks Tavern on North Durango on the northwest side of town, where fish is overnight. Say Daily Fish Podcast, you get a free drink. Do it the next day, a free appetizer. That's Shucks Tavern. Check out Shucks Tavern on Facebook. All right, let's bring in our guest. He's a star. He's the only one on baseball to win a Gold Glove and also to win an Emmy in television. Doug Flynn is a former Major League Baseball player with the Reds, Mets, Astros, and Tigers. He was part of the 1975 and 76 Big Red Machine World Series Championship. Plus, he won a Gold Glove in 1980 with the Mets. And then 2 weeks ago, Doug's show, Kentucky Life, won him an Emmy for his hosting abilities. Dougie, welcome back to Daily Fish, and good reception, we hope, this time.
Yeah, it's pretty good, JD, and I apologize to you professionals in the TV business. I don't know what happened. I wanted a recount. I said, there's no way. But, we were down in Camp Lejeune when I found out. And, one thing that I've been blessed with, when I played baseball, my dad always told me, surround yourself with people smarter than you and more talented than you. Well, obviously, when I got to the Reds, I had that. And then when I got in the TV business, I got more talented and smarter people. And my dad knew what he was talking about.
John, you know what? And John's really screwed because look who he's with.
I wasn't going there.
I don't know about that. Dougie, talk about Kentucky Life. We got so many things we want to talk about, but talk about Kentucky Life because it's such a great show and it's on PBS in Kentucky. Talk about what you guys do there.
Well, you've been here to our beautiful state several times. They had it. The show is when I started, it had run for 20 years. They had one host for 15. For 5, and then another host for 15. He retired. They said, would you come and fill in for a month till we find somebody to do this? And I went, sure, because I was doing some UK baseball games, and the guy who produced the baseball was also producing Kentucky Life. So I said, I'll come over and do it for a month. And then after they didn't find anybody for about 2 months, he said, well, can you hang on for a little bit longer? So I think we're there 6 years now. And, you know, it's beautiful. I get to go around our wonderful state and just do human interest stories on people, places, history. It's amazing. And we have so many talented photographers and writers. It's just, you know, you just get there and show up, and it's fun to do.
It's a great show, and you are Doug Flynn on it through and through, which makes the show great too. Lexington is a great place because you got me there for a golf tournament, and then I had to go there for work, and Undercover Jet Setter actually did a couple of segments there. You got bourbon, you got horses, you got UK sports, and then you showed us wineries. I'm absolutely amazed when you go to Lexington. You can never be bored. You can have a great time.
Yeah, we finally caught up with everybody else. And, the wineries are pretty cool, and you know they've all and they're all so different as well. I mean, you can go to them and they have such a good selection. You can usually, like our bourbon, you can usually find something that you enjoy drinking. But yeah, there's a little bit of everything in our state, and you know, we even got a castle here. Are you kidding me? You know, JD, what I've always wanted to do, and for the folks that are watching, they built this castle with the idea that this family was going to live there. Well, they ended up getting divorced, and it's been a restaurant, it's been a bed and breakfast. If they had a moat, I always thought at one night during the children's charity, we get all the guys after one of the parties and we'd storm the castle. Wouldn't that be cool? I thought that'd be so cool, man. And my brother's a cop down there in the county where the castle is, so I know we wouldn't have any trouble. We could all go up and climb the walls. Man, that would have been fun.
That would have been really good. It's called Castle Post, and it's Poste, and it's a spectacular place to go to. It's a 13th century castle in Kentucky, but it's in a place called Versailles.
Come on, JD. Come on. It's Kentucky. It's Versailles.
I get my Kentucky and French accents mixed up. So, but you're right. It's a great place, and you know what I'll do? I'll post our segment that we did because we did something on there, and it is really cool. But yeah, we need to do that sometime. I like that.
I'd love to do it. And the Bourbon Trail is popular. I mean, people from all over the world come to do our Bourbon Trail. So yeah, it's you know, we got beautiful horses and fast women. It's a great place to live.
I'm flying in now. Are you kidding me? I'm heading out to you. I'll storm the castle with you, buddy.
I got a feeling you would.
Yes, I'm a nut job. All right, this is a two-parter. This is great. I mean, I was watching a thing on NFL about Dwight Clark, and the fact that Huey Lewis in the news asked him to tour with them, I thought was phenomenal. Then they showed him singing, Doug, with them, and it was fantastic. Then we find out from real research, John talked about this, that you toured with these guys. These are the Oak Ridge Boys. So I'll talk about that experience, and then I got a follow-up.
Well, I met them in the 70s through Johnny Bench, and we sort of stayed in touch because two of them, Richard Sturban and Joe Bonzel, huge baseball fans, huge. Richard owned part of the Nashville Sounds, which was a minor league franchise. I think it's still there. Not sure what organization has it now, but big baseball fans. So we stayed in touch. 1980, we go on strike. We're out for like a week. We're out for 2 weeks. I'm thinking, good night. We're not going back to work. So we're talking one night, and they said, hey, you want to go on the road? And I went, sure. So went down, met them in Nashville, jumped on the bus. We headed somewhere. We went to another place. And then one night, and this is how things really get blown out of whack. One night, I'm backstage, minding my own business. Something happens, and the Oaks have a little break, and they say, well, we have a guest. He's a 2-time World Series champion. He just won a Gold Glove. Doug Flynn. I stick my head out from behind the curtain, and Joe Bonzel, he's kind of the spokesman. He says, come on out here. I went, all right. So I go out on stage, and I thought he was going to ask me some baseball stuff. He said, rumor has it you've been singing with a group back home. I said, yeah, a little bit. He said, you want to do one? I said, great. I know all the Oak songs. He went, oh, no, you're not going to mess up one of ours. We're going to pick somebody else's. So he cranked up Hey Good Looking or something, and they got to the verse, and they all just kind of threw it to me, and I just took it. And I thought, well, this is pretty cool. So the song was over, and I just sort of stood there, and he said, what are you doing? I went, I'm ready to do another one. Anyway, so the New York papers get a hold of it because I just won a Gold Glove. I just signed a 5-year contract, and the headlines, Flynn touring with Oak Ridge Boys. So even the Oaks and I now have a pretty good laugh at it. But as you know, JD, we've done some singing with the Gatlin Boys, and love getting up singing with them as well. They're so good. And what I realized, you don't have to be good. You just got to have nerve. And like playing with the Big Red Machine, do you think anybody, they didn't even know I was on the field when I got to play. It's just like being up there with those guys that can really sing. You just kind of not screw up too bad and fill in a little bit here and there, and nobody really knows.
So my follow-up is, because of the pandemic, there's a lack of wedding singers here in Las Vegas. So I want to know if you're available. I could look you. We have a couple of weddings and bar mitzvahs that we need to be booked, and I can teach you a Saperstein bar mitzvah on the 13th. I have to teach you some, and then we have a couple of weddings we can get you in. So if you need some work, just let me know.
Yeah, this old Southern Baptist is really big at bar mitzvahs. As a matter of fact, though, I did marry my brother. I didn't sing at his wedding, but I married my brother and another couple here just recently, which was really pretty cool. And they had professional singers, which I'm thankful for. But I don't know if that fits. I'm kind of a country boy, and most of the stuff we're doing is pretty country. Although there's some pretty nice country songs out there now, like Chris Stapleton's done one. He and his wife do that would be an outstanding song. There's a lot of good songs out there now.
Well, Johnny Bench talked about we had Johnny on when we couldn't get you on. All I talked about was what a great singer you were. So that's a compliment. You can go out. If they had karaoke back then, just think of all you guys clubbing back then, going out with the boys, and you're the guy singing. All right, they're getting laid because of you, and you're sitting there at the end of the night with the a whiskey on the rocks and a microphone. I got another one for you. Doug, can you explain this to JD and me? I'm JD. What the hell is this?
Which one?
Right. Did you see that picture right there? Yeah. Now,
which one do you want me to explain?
Well, not your Woody, but not the Woody. But I saw this picture of you, and I said, "Look at that! Look at that hair! You are Epstein from Welcome Back, Kotter back in the 70s. Look at that hair!
Wasn't that beautiful? I'd give anything for that now. Oh, I'd love to. All right, so when I saw the movie Serpico, right?
Oh, great movie, yes.
Okay, what kind of dog did he have? Old English Sheepdog.
No,
yeah,
that's right.
I loved it, and I thought, wow, this is such a cool movie, and I liked it. So off season, I went and got it. I used to take Woody, wonderful Woody. I don't know where the wonderful came from. His name was just Woody. So we take him into the locker room. He'd stay in the training room during the games. All right, so now we're playing so bad in New York one time, and the camera's flashing around the stadium. They go out to the bullpen. One of the trainers had taken Woody out to the bullpen just to let him go relieve himself. And the camera pans around, and he's sitting there taking a dump. And the broadcaster says, well, at least something positive happened at this ballpark tonight.
So I followed up with this. That mane on your hair, I had that back in the 70s. But Look at this. So if we were doing a commercial for Afro Sheen, who had a better afro, you or this guy? Remember this guy, John?
Oscar.
Yeah.
Oscar Gamble.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Oscar had me beat.
Okay. Well, how did you guys how did you get your baseball caps on? They didn't have adjustable caps back then.
Eric, in the 70s, it didn't matter how you played as long as you looked decent. So, if you had the tight uniforms and you had the locks going, I remember the big open shirts with the big collars. the bell-bottom pants, the platform shoes. It was the 70s. I mean, it was like, whatever you want to do, go do it. But see, I'd played for 5 years with the Reds, 3 in the minor leagues, 2 in the major leagues. I get traded, and with the Reds, you had to wear military cut. I mean, they had to be really short. Your socks had to be way down almost to your shoes. We had this kind of that Army or that military look. And I get traded to the Mets, and they say, jack those socks up if you want to. Hey, we don't care if you have hair long. And I went, hey. So I did it. And now that I look back on it, not real proud of it, but it was part of the 70s.
70s were a horrible, horrible decade as far as fashion goes when you look back on it now. And that's I look back on the stuff that I wore and I'm like, oh God, what was I thinking? So, hey, Dougie, you tell one of the great stories about the late great Gary Carter when he was catching for the Expos, and you were playing with the Reds. You were just coming up with the Reds, and he actually helped you stay in the major leagues. Can you tell that story?
You know, John, Gary and I played against each other in the minor leagues. Great player, Hall of Famer. Miss a lot of people. I miss him a lot. His wife, Sandy, and my wife still stay in touch. So he got to the big leagues a little bit before I did. So 75, I make the team out of spring training, and we go into Montreal to play at Old Jerry Park. If you never went there, you didn't miss a lot. They had it looked like you were at the county park because right behind the fence, the chain link fence in right field, was a public swimming pool. And guys would hit them over into that stuff. And so I get to start one game. Well, Pete Rose tells me before the game, he says, Dougie, if you don't do well, they're going to send you back to AAA ball. And I said, what have I done? He said, nothing. You're just not playing a lot. Sparky thinks you need to go down there and just continue to play more. I said, all right. So I get up to bat the first time. Gary's catching. We exchange pleasantries. I said, hey, Gary, they're going to send me out if I don't have a good game. Nobody on, 2 outs. He says, all right, breaking ball inside. And I went, what? He said, yeah, breaking ball inside. He said, Dougie, we got to keep our guys up in the big leagues. So sure enough, I think Dave McNally was pitching. He just come over in a trade. He threw me a breaking ball inside. And I look back at Gary and I went, you ain't never told me a pitch. I played against you a whole season. You never told me a pitch. He said, I'm going to help you out today. He said, all right, fastball away. So I threw a fastball away. I hit a double. Thinking, all right, there's Sparky. Did you see that? I don't know if he was watching. He probably went up and had a Coke or something when I came to the bat. What's really disgusting is when you come up to the plate with 2 outs and you look in your own dugout and everybody's on the top step with their glove on. That's really not encouraging. Okay. So I get up the second time and I look back at Gary and I said, Gary, 2 hits would really be good. And he said, well, if you get another one, it's on your own. And I went, start him at the breaking ball before. Threw me another breaking ball. I got another base hit. Not a word was said to me by anybody. So it's like Pete knew and he told me, but the game was over. Nobody said a word to me and I stayed in the big leagues.
Right.
Yeah.
The 162 game season is a marathon. So you have this great personality, but tell me about some other guys that you played with that were real pranksters in the locker room and did things to keep them. Let's say you're in a 7-game losing streak and you just want to mix things up and ease up the tension. Who was that guy on any team you played with?
Well, I didn't experience that with Cincinnati, obviously. Although we had some really good guys. I'm just glad they didn't have cell phones back in those days. But we had some great guys that were, Hall of Famers. And I'll tell you some Red stories in a minute. Then I get traded to the Mets, and they're getting rid of all of the team from the 69, 73 Mets. So they're getting a little bit older. I came over in the Tom Seaver trade. You still have Jerry Kuzman, John Matlack there, Buddy Harrelson, Felix Mion, Jerry Grody. You still got all those guys, Rusty Staub. And we didn't play very well. We were not real good. We had some young kids that were trying to find our way. Kuzman was amazing. I would take a Jerry Kuzman on my team every single day. I think they're going to retire his number in New York this year, which is really cool. Yep. He was a battler. You hear so much about Tom Seaver, but Jerry Kuzman he was a gamer. I mean, if I got taken out on a double play at second base, Kuzman was the guy that'd say, all right, I got him. Next time up, I get him. And he would. But he would also keep you loose too, because the day he pitched, you didn't want to mess with him. The other 4 days, he was outstanding, trying to help everybody stay good and loose. The pranksters were mostly in the minor leagues for me, Eric. When I got to the big leagues, most of us were fighting for jobs every single year. Even after I won a Gold Glove, I was fighting for a job the next year in New York. Joe Torre came to me and said, "You're going to have to start the season at shortstop. We got a phenom that's going to play second base." And I went, "All right, whatever." But the whole objective is, once you get there, is you just don't want to be a part of it. You want to play every day. Joe Torre, absolute best in the world. He helped keep you loose in New York. He'd laugh when. See, that's what I miss about. There's so much I miss about the game today, but one of the things is the managers arguing. They get that replay and you look at it, and it's taken all the personality away from those guys. They were funny. I mean, Earl Weaver and Torre and Piniella and, Billy Martin, those guys were funny people. And if you ask any umpire, they would tell you, go listen to an umpire speak at a banquet. Every story is about a manager that they threw out, and it's about the story that happened. So, yeah, the pranks, it was, when you're on a losing team, you got to be real careful about doing them. You said 7 games. I'm New York. I'm sure we lost a lot more than that. And then when I went to Montreal, we had some pretty serious ball players: Andre Dawson, Tim Raines, Gary Carter, a great group of talent over on there. And then they started dismantling that ball club too. So, it's just, I don't know. We all found something to do to really have fun. And my running mate was Joel Youngblood. I don't know if you remember him.
Sure.
Joel played 10 or 11 years. He's the only player, if you'll remember, he got a hit and then got traded to another team and then went in and got a pinch hit that game. And both of the hits were off of Hall of Famers. He was in Chicago, got one off Fergie Jenkins, came to join us in Philadelphia and got one off of Steve Carlton the same day. So, but Joel's one of my dear friends. He was my running mate. We tried to keep each other. You need somebody when you're struggling at the plate. Like, I would come back and I go, "Gee, many Christmas, how can they call that pitch a strike?" And he'd be on the ground laughing. "Dougie, that pitch looks so good. How can you take a pitch like that?" And that's what you need in the game. You need that kind of accountability. Unfortunately, hitting was not my forte.
Well,
Thank God for leather.
Stand-up comedy is your next gig, but let me ask you this. Who are the biggest trash talkers that you dealt with when you were at the plate or in the field? Because people think trash talking is something that just emanated in the last 10 years. But I guarantee you had some big mouths back when you played.
That was fun because it wasn't, it was funny stuff. It wasn't nasty stuff. Like, guys weren't talking about your mama and stuff. They were talking about stuff on the field. And that's when batting practices were all that stuff. Dave Parker was one of the best. Oh, Dave Parker was good. Larry Boa saw Concepcion one day and said, "Davey, did you change your name?" He said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I looked in the paper and it didn't say D Concepcion, it said E Concepcion." And so, and Davey didn't get it. We all said, "Davey, it means you made an error." So anyway, Perez was the guy that kept things loose in Cincinnati. He was the one guy. He was the Dean Martin of our Rat Pack.
Wow.
Does that make sense? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's a guy that nobody took any crap from, but he could stir it up and then sit back and kind of watch it happen. And he was, John, I hate to say this, but he was probably the real glue of the Big Red Machine. No. But he lives down in Florida, so he doesn't know that I'm doing this, so it doesn't matter.
Now that you brought up the glue, talk about how that story and that name stuck with you.
I think it has stuck now. It was all right. We're in Cincinnati, and I think it's the Joe Morgan statue presentation. I'm emceeing a little gig the night before for about 500 people that paid a lot of money. So they bring in the great 8. They say one of the best starting 8s in the history of the game. And I introduce them. I'd had a couple of glasses of wine. I said, ladies and gentlemen, there they are, the most overrated group of players in the history of the game. And people are looking at me like, what is he doing? And I said, all right, I know what you're thinking. You're saying I've got an axe to grind or something. No, here's the deal. Those guys sitting right over there in 1970, they got beat by Baltimore. In 1972, those guys sitting right over there got beat by Oakland. 73, they let the Mets beat them. 74, they disappeared. You never even heard about them. And a little country boy from Kentucky makes the team in 75, and they win the World Series. And then the next year, the country boy comes back, and they win the World Series again. And then in 77, they trade the country boy away, and they never win again. You do the math. And some guy in the back of the room hollers, the glue. And so, as you know, I've always wanted to do stuff with military. So I have these shirts, and it says Doug Flynn, the glue, 1975-76. All the proceeds go to our friends, Hope for the Warrior. And we're having a pretty good time with that.
It's a great story.
Johnny looks at me and he goes, you got the nerve with 5 Hall of Famers on here to call yourself the glue. I went, facts is facts.
Well, on a serious note, John and I, for the last 4 months on this show, have been trying to save baseball. Can we save it?
Nope.
Wow. Why?
Well, because you're too smart and you love the game too much. That's why you don't see as many former players in the game coaching. They got their own guys that are sabermetrics freaks, and they come up, and if you got certain spin ratio and certain launch angle, and your OPS is this, and your PMS is this, and your whatever it is, it just, it's the replays are taking too long. They replay every single thing, and they're griping about the umpires. To me, the umpires are what helps make this game because they're human. They might make some mistakes. Okay, most of the time they're pretty good. 99 point something, they're pretty good. Yes, they blow some calls, and now they even seem to have a little bit more of an attitude than they used to. But if I can't go hit 1,000 and I can't go field 1,000, why am I expecting an umpire to call 1,000 or call everything right? So I think they've taken with the replay, they've taken the personality away from the game. This game was invented. I mean, who knew that 150 years ago, 90 feet was going to be just the perfect thing to have bang, bang plays on just about every ground ball?
Yeah.
Who knew that 60 feet, 6 inches was going to stand up this long, even though they've lowered the mound because Bob Gibson was so dominating? But now they're talking about having electronic umpires, or, that little square, let it call them, the bang that plays at first base. When I came up, I remember my first game as a Red playing the Dodgers. And Johnny Bench said, Doug, there's 3 people on this team. If they get on first, they're going to try to hurt you. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I don't care where you are around that bag. They're going to come get you. And I went, ooh. Now they don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. There used to be an art in turning the double play, getting rid of the ball, getting off your feet so that you didn't get hurt or you didn't get hit.
Yep.
Now they can hang right in there, and if you barely touch them, it's interference. The strike zone now has been, shrunk a little bit. You can't even throw up and in. If you do, it's an automatic warning. I think the biggest problems, and this will sum it up, in all of the professional sports is it used to be policed and patrolled on the field. For instance, you look at that group when Larry Bird and Magic and those guys, they controlled. They had such respect from the rest of the league. I don't care what team you're on. If you were doing something stupid, they'd come and tell you. Don Sutton, great Don Sutton. I remember one day he would I hit a ball to right field, and he threw that little cutter, and I hit a ball for a base hit. He walked by me and tapped me on the rear end and said, "Attaboy, kid, don't try to pull that pitch." He was taking care of the game. Willie Stargell, I hit a ball over, and it bounced and took one of those big hops on AstroTurf. I should have been on second, but I hesitated. Willie Stargell starts backing up towards the bag, and he runs over me. And I looked up, and he looked down at me and said, "Oh, my fault, man. I thought you should have been on second." He's patrolling. He's taking care of the game. And, now it's not. Now because you go to replay, then you go to the front office, and then you go to the commissioner's office, and they start handing out all these stupid rules. And, I just think it's taking the personality away. I heard y'all talking about the attendance in the game. Man, we had some personalities. You look at that Big Red Machine bunch. It was like rock stars. You went to the ballpark, people were there because they knew they were going to see a good brand of baseball. They were going to see guys that had personalities. They were going to play the game the way it's supposed to play. I love the game, but it's just not the same game that I grew up playing.
Yeah. And like I said, we're all in the same age group, so we grew up watching you and loving the same thing you just said. That it was just a great game back then. So we lost two legends this week. We lost Don Everly of the famed Everly Brothers, and we just lost Charlie Watts today. Great drummer with the Rolling Stones. Yeah. And they were an inspiration for a lot of bands that we saw come out in the 70s and 80s. Who was someone that passed away that was your inspiration and really, gave you a good mentorship and tutored you basically, or you watched them in the way they played and said, I want to be that guy in the baseball world?
Well, I used to watch Nellie Fox and Louis Aparicio. Yeah. And my buddy Greg Austin, who is a guy that I sing with around here locally, we would play short and second, and we'd sort of flip-flop, but they were two of the best, Nellie Fox and Louis Aparicio. That's who we wanted to emulate. But it's all kind of being brought close to home now because you see, like, J.R. Richard just passed away. Yep. J.R. Richard was a great pitcher, boys. I'm telling you, 6'8", 260 pounds, and, had the stroke at age 30. He was dominating. Excuse me.
We'll do it.
But he was, and then he passed away. Then you see, like, with Tom Seaver. I mean, I was traded for Tom Seaver, and he's passed away. I've seen a lot more of our guys starting to get the dementia and the Alzheimer's. But so we get a monthly newsletter that tells us all the guys that passed away, and you start looking down that list, and I mean, it's not just old guys. It's some guys that are young, in their 30s and 40s that have passed away for whatever reason. And, that's why every day when I get up, I take a lot of riding because I was, a 238 lifetime hitter, and I get not ridiculed. I mean, justly judged for being a lack of an offensive player. And I used to get mad at that. And then all of a sudden I realized, how fortunate was I, a guy who got no scholarship offers, got cut from a college team, went to a tryout camp, and then 3 years later made it to the big leagues to be a part of one of the best teams to ever go on the field. Man, I just wake up every morning thanking the good Lord, saying, I'm a blessed man.
Wow. All right, this is Daly Fish. We're talking to Doug Flynn. He has won 2 World Series titles with the Reds, but he is the only person to win a Gold Glove and a TV Emmy for hosting Kentucky Life on PBS. Doug also hosts with Johnny Bench the Hope for the Warriors celebrity golf event each August in Wallace, North Carolina. For more information on that, go to hopeforthewarriors.org. And then also a little pitch here. Let's tell you about MedSonics. If you are in Vegas and you're in pain, go to MedSonics. The sound wave technology relieves pain. I've used it. It works for me. It's non-invasive. You sit there for 25 minutes and relax as the pain goes away. The website is medsonics.com, and that's medsonix.com. Al is the owner inventor. Tell him Daly Fish sent you there. Dougie, we had a great time about 10 days ago down at Wallace at the Hope for the Warriors. How successful was that event as far as trying to raise money for our Warriors?
I think it was highly successful, and thank you for all the publicity you continue to give this wonderful program. You've probably been in it from the very beginning like I was. 15 years ago it started, and even before that when we were going down to do the Celebrity Players Tour. Yep. Robin Kelleher and her staff do a remarkable job. If you look it up on the website that John just gave you, it's voted every year in the top of the top charities, nonprofits in the country, because they're given 90 to 91% of their money's going right to the families of military guys. And this year, a little special treat we had, John. First of all, the people in Wallace, North Carolina are absolutely wonderful. They give us a town. They give us a restaurant, anything you want. They say, go have fun. It's all on us. They're just country folks that do it the right way. And this year we had a wonderful surprise, and Lee Greenwood came down to spend time with us and walked in the night before, got up on stage and sang with the band. And then, boy, the night of the gala, one that they used to have in Washington all the time, now moved, and they think they're going to continue to do it in Wallace, where we honor a lot of the wounded vets and a lot of the people that are supporting this wonderful charity. It's, John, I have to admit, it's a time where Johnny and I get to get away. We fish a lot when we're down there, but it's one of the coolest things that I've ever been involved with, and it really is coming to life now because of what's going on, I think, in Afghanistan. And you and I were around all those guys that had been in Afghanistan, and we saw the people that were busted up pretty good. And I didn't serve, but I got to fulfill a dream because of those who did. And I want to spend my last few years, whatever this is trying to give back to those families.
That's great. Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to try and get down there next year. I want to get down there and help out, because to me, it's great. It's the greatest thing you guys do for our soldiers. And I think kids nowadays don't respect the fact that what the military does, and the fact that if we would have lost World War II, in a whole different country. So what you guys do is fantastic. I want to go back to this for a second, Doug, because I know endorsements are huge for athletes nowadays, and you didn't have that many outlets that have endorsements. But I was thinking, if we show this, okay, I was thinking there's a chance for 2 endorsements here. If you look at your hair, H Pest Control could finally get the spiders out of that thing. And then, if you're erectile dysfunction, what about a product called Wonderful Woody? Huh? Am I right? You can nail 2 endorsements with 1 picture, and then throw in the dog as
Hey, where were you?
Not only do I have great hair and I have a heart on, but look at my dog walks around to pick up girls. I mean,
where were you in 1978?
I was trying to pick up girls with a heart on.
What's amazing, that was never ever mentioned back in the 70s. But I keep trying to get rid of that picture, but it keeps showing up.
I'm sorry we can't see John. John, this is fantastic. I think this is great. You look great. You look like you could be in the Partridge Family, but this is fantastic. I'm getting rid of this thing because you look better now.
Speaking of Woodies, we had Ken Singleton on the show, and he was playing in Montreal like you did, and he said it was very, very tough to play there because of all the hot women in Montreal. Did you have that problem too?
I heard the same thing.
You heard it?
Let's see. I got married in February of '82. I got traded to Montreal in August of '82. So I really didn't notice all of that, John.
That's a good answer, Doug. Well, Doug, let me tell you this, Doug. If you walk into Montreal with that wonderful Woody, you might not be married that long.
No, I didn't. I think I had it cut down by then. When I got to Montreal, I think it was pretty back to normal. I wanted to make a good impression.
Well,
I tell you one of the fun things. I got to play with Chris Spire when I went over there for a little while, and I love Chris. We still stay in touch, as I do with so many players. But when I was on that Montreal team, we had so many good guys on that team that we all still, one of my dearest friends passed away, and that's Scott Sanderson. Scotty was just, he was, there's not one person, I don't care if he pitched good or bad, what team he is with, you'll never hear anybody say one negative thing about Scott Sanderson, and loved him to death. And we lost him way too soon. But Chris stays is a good friend. And I saw Brian Little the other day, still scouting with some teams. And I asked him, I said, how can you stay around the game this long? He said, it's what I know to do. And he's obviously pretty good at it. He's a van scout with the White Sox.
Wow. Dougie, we got about 2 minutes left here. Talk about, are you a big NFL fan, or are you more of a Kentucky Wildcat football fan?
I'm struggling with both right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, I want to go to a sporting event and watch a sporting event. And in today's game, you don't do that. We got too many people. They're making, political statements, and, we're both, you and I are probably on the opposite sides of a lot of things politically, but I don't go to a ball game to know what I want to go watch a ball game. Yeah. And I just think when people are doing all this stuff, I don't know. they've kind of turned me off. Baseball has too in a lot of ways. I want to turn on the game, and I want you to sit there and, I had a guy told me the other day, "Why are you a racist?" Well, I don't think so. Let's see. I roomed with the first African American to ever play basketball at Kentucky. I roomed with the first African American that ever played baseball at Kentucky. I did play freshman basketball, Eric, at UK. My dad was the first white to ever play with an all-black team in Lexington, so we had half of their family raised me. So I said, no, but I don't just want to go to a ball game, and I want to see good ball players play. I don't care what it is, but don't sit here and preach to me during a ball game. And I think that's what I'm getting a lot of in all the sports these days.
And is that the new culture? I don't know. It's wrong for a lot of us old. I do know this. When it affects their pocketbooks, they'll stop. When they say, "Hey, we're losing ratings," when you're losing ratings, so in other words, your $45 million contract is going to be $20 million. They're automatically they're playing by the rules that the league wants to do. One last thing I want to say before we wrap: superstitions in sports, and you've seen guys go through major slumps. What's the greatest superstition that you saw a player do to try and break a slump? I don't mean busters. I mean a slump. Did you have a superstition? Did you wear the same underwear?
Did you see my baseball card? I was in a constant slump for 11 years.
No, I saw your hairdo. That's a slump.
if I only up till about 10:30, and then it worked pretty good. I tried everything in the world. I mean, if I could have had, voodoo dolls in my locker and like that guy in that movie, I tried everything. What they asked Pete Rose one time, his son was playing, little Pete Jr. He called his dad and he says, "Dad, man, I'm struggling. How do I get out of an 0 for 18 slump?" And Pete said, "What'd you call me for? Call Concepcion. I don't know. He's never been in a slump." He just, I know we don't have any time, but that was, boy, those guys, if you remember them, and I heard you asking how old am I? I turned 70 this year. And,
really?
And my goal is to shoot my age. So in golf. So I'm trying hard to get better, John.
It'll be happening, I'm sure, Dougie. I've seen your game.
Hey, let me show you something. Here's my boys. You see my boys?
Oh, hey.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's Jackson and Buddy. That's Jackson right there. He's a rescue, and that's Buddy. He's our older one. They're two go.
Hey, Doug, put the Woody shirt on, and you can use those dogs.
That was too easy.
You nailed it.
Perfect. All
Hey,
right, we've been talking
I appreciate you. Hey, thanks, John, for all the stuff you guys are doing and pushing sports of all levels, but especially, for the great stuff we're doing with our military people.
Absolutely, Dougie. Hey, Dougie, we appreciate you being on here. Folks, we've been talking to Doug Flynn, World Series titles with the Reds. He's now the only person to win a Gold Glove and a TV Emmy for hosting Kentucky Life on PBS. Doug also hosts with Johnny Bench the Hope for the Warriors celebrity golf event each August in Wallace. Make sure to go to this if you can. Fish is going to be there next year. Go to hopeforthewarriors.org. Dougie, thank you so much for being on the show, buddy.
Thanks, JD. Always a pleasure, my friend. Eric, good to see you again, pal.
You too, buddy.
All right, Dougie. Thank you. He is the glue, everybody. Coming up, Fish and I are going to wrap things up really quickly. We're almost out of time here, but you need a great golf getaway. The Myrtle Beach Golf Trail has dozens of courses along the Carolina coast. Set up an entire trip for yourself, your family, a bunch of friends. The site is myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. You can play there almost all year round. That was just a great interview with Dougie. And not only that, we should also tell people we did have somebody else on. They had an emergency. Dougie said he would come on. He couldn't come on the other time before because of technical difficulties, but he's great. He's just one of the great guys. He's talented, and he's just a ton of fun. I love him.
Couple things on the agenda. Next week, John, we're going to have probably Donnie Most of Happy's fame. If not, we're going to have chef Jesse Hearns, brother of Tommy Hitman Hearns. College football starts this weekend. We have a couple of matchups, Nebraska, Illinois, Hawaii at UCLA, John, and we'll preview more of college football next week. But we're going to have a 25th reunion show of the Real TV. We're going to have a doubleheader on September 7th. So we have a lot of great things coming. I'm very excited about the future of Daily Fish and the upcoming broadcast. So take us out.
All right. Remember, this is Daily Fish. We're live from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. Catch us on DBNA television, on Roku TV, Amazon, and check us out as well on Facebook at daily.fish.5 and also on YouTube. Write us at dailyfish1@gmail.com. Fish, have a good one, buddy.
You too, John. Thank you.